recounts a real-life event from my early teens around the age of 13 during my upbringing in New York. Our family owned a summer house on Cape Cod, and we spent almost every other weekend there, if not more. Cape Cod, a peninsula off the east coast of Massachusetts, is bustling and crowded during the summer, but embraces a tranquil emptiness during winter. Most properties in our area were vacation homes, thus standing dormant during the colder seasons. In stark contrast to New York, where artificial light fills the streets, on the main road leading from the town center to the beach, the only illuminations were provided by street lamps. Beyond this path, darkness shrouded the remaining roads, casting a pitch-black hue at night. Also, Cape Cod juts out into the Atlantic, creating a bay, Cape Cod Bay. Here, one can catch the sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean and witness the sunset over Cape Cod Bay on clear days. The area's oceanic surroundings also resulted in minimal artificial light at night, offering a splendid view of starry skies and even the Milky Way on clear evenings. This incident occurred during the period between Christmas and New Year's. With the Christmas festivities concluded, there remained an abundance of leftover turkey and pumpkin pie. One evening, after feeling a bit claustrophobic from the remnants of Christmas food and the continuous presence of family, my older sister, who was 20 years old at the time, suggested a stroll to the harbor, a roughly 20-minute walk from our residence. The harbor had its appeal since we could traverse the docks and amble amidst the boats. Despite feeling a bit unnerved at the thought of a wintry nighttime walk through an empty beach town, I also found the prospect of stepping out of the house intriguing and even exhilarating. We set out on our walk. Just across from our traditional Cape Cod cottage, a field extended with a thick forest at the far end. During the night, I often harbored a slight fear that someone might be lurking in the tall grass, perhaps wielding an axe. While this notion kept me on edge, it was merely a product of my imagination. Nevertheless, the combination of an icy wind rustling through the tall grass served as the perfect backdrop for conjuring up horror scenes. Imagine this scene under a moonless sky adorned with millions of sparkling stars, and the Milky Way overhead. It felt straight out of a Stephen King novel. As we strolled, we made our way onto the main road and then veered off onto a side street that led downhill towards the harbor. This particular street bordered the rear of a lengthy hotel. A two-level motel painted a light shade of yellow, featuring a pool. It's an upbeat and lively spot in the summertime. However, on this December evening, the hotel was shuttered for the season. Engulfed in an ominous darkness, with several windows boarded up for protection. My sister commented that a hotel spanning an entire block, partially boarded up, seemed like a setting from a horror movie. It conjured up images from those slasher flicks where characters consistently make the wrong choices and venture into the darkest, most perilous locations, only to encounter their worst nightmares brought to life. We proceeded to the left at the end of the street, embarking on a long downhill road leading through the woods to the harbor. While not an entirely dense forest, the area featured houses set back from the road, with intermittent driveways. Many of these driveways were adorned with reflectors placed on rocks, fences, or metal stakes which caught and threw back the headlights of passing cars. The notable absence of these telltale reflectors, or any discernible signs of life, rendered the wooded area utterly shrouded in darkness. It seemed as though the road stretched endlessly into the black expanse. We hadn't encountered a single vehicle, person, or any sign of activities since leaving our home. It left me on edge. At the time, a mere 13 years old, I endeavored to maintain composure despite my nerves being on high alert. I wanted to appear strong for my sister, the The woods flanking the road appeared particularly unsettling. The trees reached right up to the asphalt on each side, offering ample hiding spots for someone or something. Beyond the woods, the houses loomed dark and desolate, as winter seldom drew vacationers to this area. It gradually became apparent that my sister, too, was succumbing to unease. We found ourselves midway through the wooded area, heading downhill towards the harbor. I was steadily losing my composure and just about to abandon my pretense of composure and suggest we turn back when my sister broached the idea herself. She remarked, "It's getting late. Maybe we don't need to make it all the way to the harbor." I responded, "Yeah, plus it's pretty eerie and dim down there." Shivers ran down my spine, and I felt my body teetering between feigning calmness and instinctively preparing for a flight or fight response. My sister agreed, "Indeed, very eerie. Let's head back to the house. We can check out the harbor tomorrow." We made a swift about-face, and she tightly grasped my hand as we hastened back up the hill. She held it so firmly that it pained me. My sister rarely held my hand. I couldn't recall another occasion when she had done so. It's at this point that the story takes a sharp turn toward the bizarre. As we neared the edge of the wooded area, my sister suddenly declared, "I've got a knife and I'm not afraid to use it." Despite her alarming statement, she maintained her brisk pace without missing a beat. Once we crossed the street and veered onto the road adjacent to the closed-to-level motel, my sister kept up her swift gait and glanced behind us. Letting out a slight panicked noise, she looked back again before instructing me, "Don't look back." I was utterly beside myself with fear at this moment. Apart from the unsettling ambience of the dark, vacated street and my own internal panic, I hadn't actually seen anything out of the ordinary except for my sister's completely erratic behavior. Then she said, "When I tell you to run, you run, okay?" Okay, we were nearing the main road, just a block away from our street, when she urgently said, "Run!" We took off. She released my hand, and both of us sprinted as fast as we could. I could hear the thumping of our footsteps against the asphalt, and in the distance, I also caught the sound of Severa. We arrived at our home and swiftly secured the storm door, mostly made of glass. I was in a state of panic but uncertain as to whether there was a genuine threat or if we simply imagined the whole ordeal. The transition from the terrifying outdoors to the safe, warmly lit interior of the house was jarring. My thoughts swirled with questions about what had just occurred. I sensed that my sister was grappling with similar uncertainties, whether there had been an actual threat or if we had both succumbed to a collective delusion. Seeking answers, I asked my sister about what she had witnessed. She described seeing a man positioned at the edge of one of the driveways, an individual we had passed by on our way back. According to her account, when we were situated behind the hotel, he had crossed the street and begun tailing us. She mentioned that he had been fixated on us. Despite our brisk pace, he had seemed to gain ground. She expressed bewilderment at the notion of encountering a man in that dim, wooded area. Quite frankly, I'm still perplexed by the events of that night. I'm unsure about the veracity of what my sister recounted, whether she had truly witnessed those events or not. One thing is certain henceforth, I've concluded that I much prefer visiting the harbor during daylight hours.